Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Self-Helpless snack where we give you a little taste of the podcast with a mini episode. I'm Delaney Fisher, and today we're sharing a bite from a Q&A I did for my email list a while back where subscribers sent in some really incredible questions. And by the way, you can sign up for my list at delaneyfisher.com. It's totally free. I share different podcast episodes, gig and media opportunities, stuff like that. Or you can just click the link in this episode's description, and that will take you to my website as well. So I'm talking with Jennifer Kempen, who was my operations manager at the time and has since started her own business. She actually opened up her own micro school. How freaking cool is that? Very, very excited for her. And this conversation we had was geared towards business owners, entrepreneurs, artists about how to price and sell their product or service without feeling gross or unethical. They don't want to have the ick, basically. So, what we're addressing here is how powerful mindset is when approaching sales in your own business and what you're telling yourself about what that sale means and the power that that language has and how it impacts how you're actually operating in your business. It is really unbelievable how just one word, switching one word and how you talk to yourself can change your entire business. And then the other question we get into is really about how to filter opinions and feedback because as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you get a lot of them and you need to know which ones to listen to and pay attention to and which ones, you can let go of. And it's really important to know how to process that, how to filter those. We don't want those to derail you. Entrepreneurs can struggle with taking things very personally when something in their business isn't working the way that they want. And there's always a reason, whether it's the product or service itself that needs some tweaking, the way that they're marketing it, maybe their ideal client or customer needs to change. Maybe there's been a huge shift in their industry and they haven't pivoted to catch up to that. So it can be really hard to step out of their emotions when it comes to their business and see things from a different perspective. And that perspective is always what we're trying to offer them in these types of conversations. I've gotten a lot of questions about my own sales and marketing processes throughout the years because I don't do hard sales in my business. I deleted my social media a few years ago. I've helped clients from at least a dozen different industries at this point. So I've seen a lot of helpful patterns and through lines, and people are just curious about the alternatives that are out there that I've either used for myself or seen work really well for my clients. Just a heads up, this conversation was from quite a while ago, so I may reference working with clients one to one, and it might sound like that's happening presently. But I just want to let you know I don't have capacity to take clients on at this time. I am taking at least a full year off to focus on some writing work that I've been doing, including my first publishing deal, which I'm excited to share with you all soon. So just wanted to preface that because sometimes I get a wave of inquiries after we share an episode like this. And I'd love to help you and have that conversation with you. It just might be a while before I can do that. Disclaimer. The responses to these questions that you're about to hear are for people who are looking to replace their income, whether that's part-time or full-time income, with their business revenue. So the guidance we're giving is based on that. I'm not addressing people who do their craft for a hobby where they're more than happy to break even financially or pay out of pocket for their materials, stuff like that. That's all awesome, but we're not talking about that situation here. I just wanted to make that clear. And finally, there's so much business advice out there. Please take everything with a grain of salt. My responses to these questions are based off of very minimal information. I'm getting like one or two sentences about the person's situation and doing my best with that. But every business needs a lot of personalization. So there is no blanket advice that works for everyone. And ultimately, you have to do what feels right for you. And if you do take guidance from someone, please be mindful who you're taking that guidance from. Ask a lot of questions and ensure that the person not only shares your values from a business standpoint, but also a personal life standpoint too. And they've had a certain result that you think you would like to have in your own business and life. All right. So here is my chat with Jen.
All right. So the first one, how do I convince someone that my service is worth the current price? Ooh, that's a good one. I still don't believe people will actually pay me what I want to make.
Here's the key word that I want to hone in on for a second is the word convince. This is how I like to approach sales. I'm not trying to convince anybody of shit. if somebody's coming into my space and they're not a great fit for what we do, or we cannot help them, we are not going to try to convince them to join something that's not going to be a right fit on either side. So I would really look at that and think of this as that you're not trying to convince anybody, but you do want to communicate the value that you provide if the person is a great fit for what you do. So I kind of look at like convincing as something that, you're trying to get people to buy something that they don't want or need, where being available and communicating clearly what you do and how you help solve whatever problem that you solve. That's how I like to look at it. Jen, any thoughts on this or any kind of follow-up questions that might help this person?
Yeah, I think that, the people that you have to convince, that they don't end up being your ideal client. I don't
No,
think that if it ever happens, that's like a unicorn, but like if you have to convince someone to buy your service, then they're not going to value you. They're not going to value your time, and they're going to expect that level of like convincing them to do the work or to participate or whatever it is.
right.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say that mindset shift, like definitely right out the gate.
Here's something that I want to differentiate. It's not like you can't kind of have the attitude of somebody coming into your space who doesn't know you and then be like, well, you should buy my shit because obviously, and then not explain everything,
Yeah, right,
not
right.
explain things or answer their questions. So it's not about like not giving information or not taking time with people to answer their questions or concerns or anything like that. But it's almost like, let's say that somebody has a sunburn, okay, and they obviously need aloe vera to relieve their sunburn. And you sell giant sweaters or something. You sell really thick sweaters and you are trying to sell them a sweater for their sunburn. We know that that's messed up. That is not an ethical sales transaction because they don't need a sweater. They need some aloe vera. However, if somebody who's cold comes into your space and buying a sweater would solve their problem of being cold, that's when you want to spend the time sharing about how great your freaking sweater is. It's made of this material, it's extra thick, it's designed by so and so, whatever it is. That's when you go into details about how great your sweater is because you're talking to somebody who's cold and needs a sweater.
I love your analogies and always can't wait for what the next one is. And they always are something I would have never ever thought of. So that was a great one. The age old aloe vera sweater
The
issue.
classic aloe vera example. We've all heard it.
We've all been there. We've all been there. But we really need some aloe and someone's giving us a sweater.
Yes. So for this person right now, you might be operating under the assumption that you have to convince everybody to buy your stuff, and that's just not true. There are people out there right now in this moment looking for exactly what you do who are ready to buy that thing. They just don't know about you. They don't have enough information from you. So that's what I recommend how you start approaching this is that people want what you have. You need to make sure you're communicating that clearly in your space. I want you to also think about it in this way. This might help. Think about the last time you bought something that you were looking to buy. When you went to the grocery store recently, you probably had a list of like, I need to buy bread and avocado or whatever. You went there and you bought the thing. There was no like emotional situation. The avocado wasn't like, oh, I wonder if they want me. I wonder if I'm going to have to convince somebody to buy me today. No, like you went there for a purpose and you got the thing. You maybe looked at the different types of avocados and tried to figure out which one is the best fit for you. But that's why I want you to start thinking about your sales process is that there's somebody out there already looking at the options and trying to find you and they're ready to buy.
Yeah. And I think taking it from it, just don't even focus on convincing. The second you start to get
Yeah.
into like, oh, maybe I have to convince this someone, get right back to no, just sharing the value that you provide in the many different ways that you can share what kind of value you provide. And then they'll take it or they'll leave it. But yeah,
Exactly.
not trying to force anything.
That's a great point, Jen. Your conversation, whether it's a sales call or a video call or a meeting that you do, that sales process is not about you at all. Don't make it about you. Don't come up on a call. Don't arrive to a call thinking, "Oh my gosh, I hope this person buys my thing because I could really use this money," or "God, I really hope this works. I really want them to sign," or whatever it is. No, it's not about you. It's about that person on the other end. So shift the focus from you to them and start getting really excited about getting to know this person. Get to know what they need help with, what they're struggling with, what's been working great, what's not working great. Basically, you are interviewing them in a very deep way to ensure that you can actually help them, that they are somebody that would be a good fit for you. And then if they are, you mention your stuff so they can determine if you're a great fit for them. That's the good news. You can take the pressure off of yourself.
Yeah, perfect. So the next question. Sometimes I'm surrounded by other artists or makers who base their pricing on the cost of materials alone, and it makes my pricing feel outrageous.
Mm.
I'll think my prices are high but reasonable, but when I see negative reaction to my prices, I feel like I'm lacking humility as a small time artist and haven't earned the right to higher prices yet.
Yes. Okay, let's dig into this one. The first thing that I noticed from this question was other artists in this person's space are basing their prices off their materials alone. Was that what the part of the question was, Jen?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So here's one thing that's going to happen to those people. They're not going to make any money. They're going to break even or they're going to pay out of pocket to run their business. If their pricing is just based on how much it costs to make, they're screwed. I mean, let's just be real about that. They're not going to make any money doing this thing. And then they're not going to be able to do the thing that they love very much because they're going to have to go get another job. So don't worry about that part. Hopefully they figure that out on their own. Another thing is it sounds like you're getting some pushback from kind of raising your rates, right? Raising the investment of whatever it is that you sell, that you offer people. So a couple of things to think about. Who are you getting pushback from? Because if you are getting pushback from the other artists in your space or the other people who are selling stuff, those other artists and those other business owners do not pay your bills. Those are not your ideal clients. So if you're getting pushback from people who are not going to buy your stuff, I know it's really challenging, but you really have to let that roll off your back. To put it frankly, I know I'm giving, I feel like I'm really coming in hot this morning with some tough love, but course, we want to be kind to people. We want to be compassionate. And of course, there might be collaborations with certain other people that you do. There's certain artists that you might collaborate with, and that's wonderful. But the majority of the people who are telling you that you're wrong and that your prices don't make sense, they do not matter for the success of your business. And they're not the people that you need to be focused on. You got to be focused on serving the people that are wanting your stuff. So let's say that you started getting feedback from somebody who you think would be an ideal client or something, and you start noticing like, oh, these are people I would really love to buy my thing, and they seem to all be saying the same thing, that it's a little out of budget or something. You can take a look at that and dive a little bit deeper, but you need to get very honest on who you're getting advice from and who you're taking advice from. Start putting a filter on your advice. When you're getting pushback about something, ask, who is this coming from? What's their business like? Are they happy? How are they set up for retirement? What is their day to day like? Are they really overwhelmed and busy? Do they have plenty of free time? I want you to start asking questions because you quickly realize you want to take advice from like 0.001% who's doing the thing that you want to be doing, that has made it over the hump. And that's who you go to for advice. And it's tough because you have to seek those people out usually. And the rest of the advice that is coming in your space is usually unsolicited. And it's not stuff that you're usually going to want to listen to. You have to put those filters on. You are feeling like, God, a lot of people are saying that I'm doing something wrong. It might be because you're just doing something different. Doing something different is actually going to help you become successful. You don't really want to do what the majority of people are doing. The majority of people aren't going to make it. So it's okay that you're doing things differently and just being able to differentiate. Am I getting this feedback because it's wrong or it's different? Or how do I feel about it? How do my ideal clients feel about it? This is so normal to get this kind of pushback. It can be tough to be in that position where you don't feel like you have the support around you of people who are kind of cheering you on in that way. Another thing, this is about anybody tuning in right now, no matter what you do, whether you sell a product or a service or whatever industry that you're in, there's somebody who's going to look at what you do and say, oh my gosh, I want that. And then there's somebody else that's going to look at it and be like, I don't want that, not for me. You don't need everybody to love what you do and want what you have. for you to be massively successful. Thank you for tuning into Self-Helpless. You can find our brand new merch, Patreon community, and other fun goodies at selfhelplesspodcast.com. We'd be thrilled if you left an Apple Podcast review, shared this episode with a friend, or post about it on Instagram and tag us at Self-Helpless Podcast so we could repost you and say hi. As an independently produced show, we sincerely appreciate your support. Thanks, everybody.